Well, hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I love to see all these smiling faces. Well, so I often will get asked, like, how did you start your own business? Like, when did you know it was time to leave your job and go all in? And I'll say that I was an entrepreneur, so an entrepreneur inside a company for many years before I decided to do my own thing. And I was always asked to start these kind of divisions and such from scratch. And I was, having fun playing with all my company's money and such. And at some point, I got pretty good at this, felt pretty confident that I thought, hey, what if I bet on myself and I put all of that startup kind of energy into my own thing? Like, how much more magical, more better would it be if it was something I actually really, really deeply cared about? And so I finally took that leap and left corporate America for me in 2018, feeling confident that I could be successful in building my own business, especially with the drive and the motivation I had with my own purpose and mission. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm super excited to have my guests here, Betty Chan, Corinne Aparis, and Crystal Pope, as we discuss their bold decisions too to leave corporate and become full-time entrepreneurs, and how they also are now helping other BIPOC entrepreneurs to design their lives, both audaciously and unapologetically. So welcome, Corinne, Betty, and Crystal. Hello, hello. Super
Hey,
excited to have you all here.
hello.
Hello. Why don't we start with actually, before we get introductions, I am going to tell people a little bit more about what this show is. So, thank you, everybody, for joining Wisdom and Wellness. My name is Chris Begonia. I am a business coach for BIPOC entrepreneurs. I'm a LinkedIn expert and top voice. I'm a second generation Filipino American daughter of immigrants and the first and only in my family to start my own business. And I really do believe that entrepreneurship is the path to equity and life design is liberation. And at Conscious Exchange, we're creating this ecosystem as well as a movement for BIPOC entrepreneurs with this mission to achieve time, location, financial, and occupational freedom for themselves, their families, and their communities. So thank you all again for joining Wisdom and Wellness, where my business besties and I will share some practical and mindset tips around questions that were commonly asked when it comes to running a business. So if you have any questions or just want to say hi, share some love, let me know. Let us know in the comments. And then again, speaking of my business besties, again, I brought some of them with me here today. So I'd love for you all to meet my clients and friends, Betty, Corinne, and Crystal. So why don't you all, the three of you, introduce yourself to the audience? So just give a little bit more about you. So, yeah. Who
Who's
wants to
gonna
go
go first?
first? Who goes first? Like,
As always, I'm still distracted. Like I'm so used to being on Zoom. I was like, where are all the emoji buttons when Carissa was talking? I need those emojis just to go.
Well, Betty, since you're chatting, let's
Yeah,
start with you.
right. I volunteered myself. All right. Well, hi everyone. My name is Betty Chan. I am a life coach, facilitator, and a speaker. And my primary focus is around authenticity. I mean, if you were all in a room with me, something I'd love to ask is like, how many of you have found yourself saying yes to something because you feel like you should? Because something I've noticed is that many of us tend to, like, not tend to, but like we've been conditioned to make choices based on what we should want, and we end up hiding who we really are in that process. So, a lot of what my work as a coach that I love doing is actually supporting professionals and caregivers, just helping them find a way out of that, navigating that indecision and uncertainty that they often find themselves in, and just commit to like a few months of like committing to themselves and dedicating to themselves where they're able to finally recognize and let go of all the expectations that they've been carrying for their entire lives so that they can put that down and they can start feeling confident in who they are again and where they're headed. So that's my jam, really.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Betty.
I guess I'll go next since I was yeah.
Not all
um,
jumping at once, y'all.
hey folks, my name's Corinne Aparis and I am a professional and life coach. And my journey really started off with realizing like, I don't want to have to hold this part of myself as a Filipino American at home. I also don't want to hold this first generation children of immigrant self at home. I wanted to bring all of that into work. And,
Mm.
unfortunately, like we're not in positions where we're able to do that. And so, my whole focus right now is helping folks be able to create spaces and lives where they feel safe and supported to bring all parts of themselves into anything, anywhere that they're at, whether it's being a mom, whether it's being a new solopreneur, whether it's being a leader at an organization, whether it's being a community member. And so, I'm really excited to be able to be in this space where I don't have to put on these different masks. I can just be myself. Um, and also being able to hold the space for other people to, encourage people to be themselves and also talk and be real and talk about the realities of how sometimes you can't. And what's that about? And so I love to guide folks in that journey and integrating their mind, body, hearts, and souls. And I'm a lifelong surfer. I'll call that out. I'm always talking in analogies and metaphors of the ocean. I feel like I'm a wannabe Moana, so that's something that's very crucial to who I am. And I bring that all into the work I do with my clients.
Oh, I
All
love
right.
that. All
I
right, well,
love that. Yes.
call you want to be. I'm gonna call you Moana now.
I am Moana. We're
Um,
all Moanas.
you might need to sing that, Korean. I am Moana.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go. My name is Crystal, aka Crystal is Geek'd, and I believe content should be created with ease. So I am a self-care advocate. I truly believe that people need to take that self-care is a priority, not an option, right? And
Mhm.
so my goal is to help amplify the authentic vibes of wellness speakers, facilitators, people who are putting out all that goodness into the world to help other people, especially people in my community, just slow down, take that break. Right, self care isn't just about spending a lot of money or getting your nails done. It's a lot of sometimes it's inner work. Sometimes it's just having that 5-10 minutes to yourself to reset, recharge, and ground before you get into the next portion of your day. Right, and so I help other, like I said, wellness. Speakers, facilitators. I help them through multiplying their content and marketing and style so that they can reach those who need them the most. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, awesome. Super excited to have you all here because, in some capacity, you are all helping people. Well, one, you made this decision to do what you wanted to do and leave, working for the man, like, bet on yourselves. And in the work you do today, it's also, well, how do you also help people do the same, right? To
Mhm.
just rediscover themselves, center themselves, right? Discover what is really important to them and meaningful, and how can they go pursue that, right, or amplify that in their lives. So really excited to chat with you and share some of the wisdom that you all hold. So that's really the start. Like, the first question I have for you is more about your own stories. Like, how did you do it? Right. I get this question all the time because it's really nerve wracking. It's scary. Entrepreneurship is, I don't know what the percentage is of people who actually come do try to do this. It can be challenging, right? And scary. Again, we're leaving the, what I say, false security of our organizations, corporate America, and to make this decision to try it on your own, right? To see if you can make your own money and make a living off on your own wisdom and talents, right? So I'd love just to hear from each of you, how did you take that leap? Like, what conditions needed to be met? Like, did you plan it all out before you left? Were you just like, bye? Like, what was that process like, so people can also understand what they might need to do, or or not do, as they start to decide for themselves, to also discern for themselves if they are ready to leave and either start their own thing or go full in into their businesses.
I think for me, it was almost like a wave finally crashed onto shore. Again with my
I was like,
Moana.
there he is.
There we go. The imagery's coming.
I was waiting to bring that in. I'm just playing, but with waves, it doesn't just crash onto shore. It starts off into the ocean with currents and all that good stuff. I'm not a marine biologist, so I won't get into that. But it it's a lot that comes into like energy and force and all that to finally come to shore and the wave crashes. And so that's what it was like for me. I quit my last corporate job last year, and it didn't just begin last year. It was years of just kind of noticing like, something's not feeling right, or kind of being like, oh, this is like a really great experience, but I don't know if this is for me long term. Um, and my body was giving me cues. My body was like, Corinne, I don't know if this is feeling right. And I'm like, okay, shh, 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 shh. I'm doing other things right now. Shh, shh, quiet, quiet, quiet. And then my heart was telling me like, oh, I'm not in this anymore. Let's try something new. And I'm like, be quiet. I'm doing something right now. I'm getting my paycheck. And it was last year when my body was like screaming at me. Like my body was just shutting down. My hands were hurting. I was like losing my hair. I just, things like that were happening. And I realized, I think that what's scarier is continuing down this path and really hurting my body. And I realized, okay, the wave is finally crashing onto shore. I can choose to ride the wave, or I can choose to plummet and drown and all that. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what's going to happen next, but I need to just ride this wave onto shore. And that wave meant prioritizing rest. I needed to rest. And I was, I'm fortunate enough to have like the support and the resources to take that. But also in that process, there's a lot of self coaching too. I had to tell myself, hey, listen, like this is part of the hard work that you put in, like being first generation Filipino American. I was taught to just go, go, go and to choose security. And that meant working a corporate job. And in that moment, I realized working this corporate job is the opposite of security for me and my well being. And I was hurting myself. And so I had to really coach myself and have these conversations with myself and telling myself that, I think this is also part of this American dream that my parents really like sacrificed everything for, which is for me to have the capacity to press pause and prioritize like my well-being. Um, so really it was my body screaming at me, being like, girl, it's time to do something different. It's time to do something different and take that big leap. So
Thanks for sharing that, Corinne, because I think too often we ignore those signs, especially what our body is saying. We a lot of I'm sure my somatic friends will say, yeah, we pay too much attention to what the mind is analyzing, thinking, figuring out, and aren't paying attention to all those warning signs that our body is usually first to react to, right? And unless I think more of us are having conversations around embodiment and practices and somatics and such to pay attention to that. But I often think we're overthinking, like, oh, it's or dismissing. Like we acknowledge it in our minds, but we're like, my hair's not really falling out, or like it's just a little bit, or that'll stop at some point, right? Like I can't feel like I'm getting something in my hands. You're saying, right? You just ignore it. You can justify it away. And uh, similar to you, Corinne, at some point your body will decide for you if you don't, right? So if you don't listen, it will tell you what's going to happen. And so I think I didn't understand that until that happened to me myself, like unfortunately, critically, right? I was in the hospital and I'm like, okay, right. And probably again, some of that grind is just conditioned for us as children of immigrants, BIPOC folks, just to go, and don't worry about all that. It'll be fine as long as you can as long as you can do something and work, you'll be fine. So, just thanks for expressing that, because I don't often think we're paying attention until it's potentially too late, and now we got to do all this recovery work instead, right? So, which sometimes can take us back even farther than where we were trying to go. So.
Yeah. I think when we push ourselves, it's like there's definitely a voice that I hear in my mind that's like, oh, we're being efficient. We're pushing as hard as we can go. And like your point about the recovery, what I've learned since leaving is recovery takes a long, long time, always longer than we expect. So actually having to pay that due makes that whole process a lot longer.
Mm.
So I
Mhm.
appreciate the reminder of that as well.
Yeah. Well, Betty, what is how did you get started? Like what again, did you plan it or you or you all just like, I'm done? Like threw your hands up in the air, like we're done.
I think a mix of both. Like I really resonated with what Corinne said about like it starts early, like much sooner than the moment of the quit that happens. The planning part for me was the last month. Like I think I knew a month before my last day, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm going to put in my notice. And I've left other companies in a variety of ways before, burned the building down, Irish goodbye, all that version. And I was like, none of those exits felt good to me. So, can I actually create an exit that feels like it honors and respects who I am and the legacy that I've created in the 5 years that I've been here at this agency, despite the ups and downs that have come as well? So, like, building on what I've learned and the wisdom I've had for myself. And what you all mentioned earlier, it's like, yeah, I think being a woman, being a person of color, being a child of immigrant means I am an excellent sufferer. Like I know how to suffer. I know how to like push through and muscle through to a point where people stop looking out for me, like not out of maliciousness, but like they're just like, oh, Betty's got it. You know, Betty's going to take care of it.
Mm.
Betty's going to be the last in line. She's going to hold the floodgates for everybody else. And no one's offering to support me in it. And I recognize that, like, throughout my years, I was like, oh, there's no one behind me. You know, and I was like, I can't continue doing this. So I think when I finally started to sit down and be like, I think leaving is the thing to do, that became a 9 month process where I needed that self coaching. I needed another coach outside of me to help me. I needed friends who responded to me when I shared, like, hey, I'm going to leave. And the response was, that's such a confident move. That's such a great move, rather than, are you crazy for doing it? But like hearing that external, like, okay, I'm not out of my mind if I want to do this. I'm in this high power position. I'm earning the most I've ever had in my life, and I'm going to walk away from this. So bankrupting, taking those 9 months to like really bankrupt all my reasons. I don't have enough money. Actually, Betty, I've saved enough. I can't live without health insurance. Actually, I have a partner who can support me in that. I don't have a workspace. I can go on Amazon and buy equipment if I need to, right? Like whatever those reasons are coming up, just doing the due diligence of like proving myself that there's another way to do it. And eventually, I literally ran out of reasons to not leave. And that was when I started to craft that 1 month plan of like, how do I want to say goodbye? How do I want this ending to be? And that was actually, it's still one of my favorite departures that I've ever done.
There's so many gems in that, Betty. Of and I recognize the coach in you, and it's like, okay, what's the evidence that I have that is true that I don't have health insurance or they don't have enough money or whatever. And so I really like that as a tip for folks to bring out, like to ask yourselves, like all these, you run out of excuses, you ran out of
Mm-hmm.
things to say, and you're like, okay, we're good. But and I love that as an exercise because I think we can make excuses but we can just as easily, if we're conscious about it, um, say actually no, what that's not real, that's not true.
Mhm. Mhm.
How you, Crystal?
So I have a little bit more of a risk tolerance, but when I actually, so my last corporate job was actually my first corporate position as well. So I come from a background where I did a lot of food and beverage, also did a lot, I wouldn't necessarily call it my bit. I thought of it more as freelancing back then, but I didn't realize I was building a brand, building my own business. But I did a lot of freelancing on my own beforehand in that social media marketing space. But I always had like another job. So for the most part, it was always my side thing, except one period of time where I did do it full time, but I ended up burning out from it because of the way that I was doing it. So from there, I entered into corporate because I was like, I've done all these different types of gigs. I was always more of kind of like that hustler type of mentality. And I was like, oh, this is time I'm getting, getting older. I should get a typical job. And I ended up being able to do that and get that. And initially it was cool. It wasn't necessarily like the dream gig, but I knew it was something that I could benefit from in the short term. But then COVID happened, and I found myself stuck in a position that I I didn't feel good about, right? And so by the time I did leave, I actually left last year as well. I think it was either January or February of 2022. By then, it was a long time coming for me to go, but at that point, I had kind of lost that bravery, that a little bit of that bravery that I had
Mm.
before because of everything that had happened. And I was like, oh, what am I, I'm getting used to getting a consistent paycheck. I was also, my income kept increasing, but I knew it wasn't for me. And kind of like how Corinne was talking about, my body was telling me, and I'm very good at listening to my body, but I'm also had a bad habit of ignoring it. So I heard the signs and I was like, yeah, I know. I'm like, we're gonna get to that. I'm like, we're gonna get to that. We got to make sure everything's in place because since I was such a risk taker in the past, I was like, I don't want to be that way this time. But
Mm.
eventually it got to the point where I couldn't. I knew I needed to make that next step, and so I did prepare a little bit. I had um, a less intense role that I was working, that I started to bring on so I could have some type of income that was flexible while I was starting my business. And so that's kind of what I did. I started that role. I talked to some of my old companies. I was like, hey, can I, come back for a little bit? I was doing both of those, but my main role, my corporate position, it was so draining. It was really hard for me to get back full swing into my business doing that. So I knew it was time. But in a way, having that experience really helped me because that's really what led me to doing what I'm doing now. I needed to take like a mental health day. And so I got myself a spa day, and I got a facial for the first time in I don't know how many years. And I needed that. I was like, oh my goodness, I
Mm.
forgot how wonderful this felt. I didn't realize how much I needed my face to be massaged and to just have this space to myself and to be just just be with me, right? And that opened up so many other doors of like wellness and learning about wellness and ways to self-regulate because I was starting to have panic attacks. I was starting to just be so stressed and I needed to find ways to regulate myself.
Mm.
uh, and with that, that made me fall in love with the wellness and self-care industry and me wanting to help others who are doing that, providing those products and services so that way more people can experience it and realize that they have options. And that's really my main goal is like I want people to realize that there are options. There are free options, there are bougie options, there are things that take 5 minutes, and there's things that could take a week, right? But I just want people to know that there are all these different options. So long story short, again, I wasn't ready to leave when I left because, like I said, at that point I was so like drained. But I knew that if I didn't, I just I knew it was starting to take a part of me, and I knew that if I didn't, then something may not have been lost that I may not have been able to get back. So
Mm.
I took the leap anyway, even though I wasn't really prepared. I didn't have a client roster. I didn't have a lot of money saved up, really any money saved up. But I know that I had the skills, and I know I've done it in the past, and I know I just needed to get back to that confidence level. And eventually, I need to find that support and that help, and that's what I eventually did.
Mm.
It's that resourcefulness, right? You become really like resourceful when you're on your own. You're like, hey, like okay, we gotta figure this out, and it's also pretty I don't know, it can build confidence. I think for me too. Similarly, I wasn't fully planned out when, I left either, and I figured it out, right? And I don't think it was from a place of desperation or like, oh, like it's critical. There, I had some safety nets and such, but it was more, nope, no one is going to do this for you anymore. No, you are the boss. No one's going to tell you what the steps are. Maybe you go hire a coach to help you. Otherwise, you got to figure it out. And I think for me, too, like probably all of you, right? You can. We actually are so
Mm.
we can figure it out, right? We don't have to be so dependent on corporate or wherever that we're in.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so that was kind of a proud moment.
Mm.
So my next question for all of you is, what are you doing now that you have more space, or time or freedom, or maybe you don't, but what was one of your most audacious moves since leaving? I think it's audacious to leave in the first place, especially again as
Mm.
BIPOC, as first, second gen or plus immigrants, to be like, yeah, I'm not going to go that path that everyone does, that I've been conditioned to believe is the only path for my entire life, right? I'm gonna fall off of that and do something else, or jump off of it, leap off of it, do something else. So after that audacious move, what's been another big audacious thing that you've been able to achieve or do now that again you have the choice to do it?
I would say the most audacious move is interesting because as someone who helps others show up on social media, I was a person who wasn't. And I literally had got I mean, but like I understand like the patterns that I'm like a data gal, and that's in a way what that is. But for me, it was putting myself out there and showing up, because in the past, all my clients have been referral based. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a website. I mean, I had my own personal socials, but I didn't have anything dedicated to my page, or to my skill set. I had just been really blessed to find clients a certain way, but I was also attracting a certain type of client. And so, in order to attract the new client that I wanted to, I knew I had to put myself out there, and I had to just be more vulnerable and open and do what I've been doing for my own clients, right? So that was most audacious. I started, um, going live. I started creating series. I started trying to like share my knowledge and teach others, not just in person, because I would always do that for people that I was around and know, but doing it, just on a bigger scale online and at in-person events and things of that nature. So it's kind of interesting because, and I was talking to one of the other guests today, and they were just like, "How do you prepare?" And I was like, wow, I'm like, I'm actually at a point where I could just kind of be on this live and feel really comfortable, even if I don't like before I would have to like prepare for days before I went on live. And even then I'll be like sweating bullets before I went on. I'm like, okay. And I just kept doing it and doing it. And sometimes I still get a little like nerves beforehand, but I was able to, get to a point where it was just another thing, that I do, and I got comfortable with it. So that is something that it might seem small, but it's scary showing up and putting yourself out there and talking, even if
Mhm.
it is online, even to me, even more so when it's in person, you can see the people. Right now, I can just see you all lovely faces. So this is it's not so as scary as it used to be, but it can be a big step, just putting yourself out there and sharing your thoughts and your beliefs, because everyone has different points of view, and even that was really scary for me, of just
Mm.
knowing how the internet is. And I'm like, oh man, people are gonna, they may say things and they may judge me, but there's also gonna be people who are gonna need to hear. Like, I just love it when people come up to me and they're like, oh, I saw your, people I've never met, and and they're like, oh, I saw your video and you encouraged me to put myself out. And I'm just like, what? Because there's always those moments where I'm just like, man, I don't know if people are necessarily, listen. I know my clients are listening, but this new
Mhm.
space, I'm like, are they
Mhm.
listening? And so I just love when, I get that confirmation, and like, oh, even if people, you may not see it, people are watching, and you can be influencing people in ways that you couldn't even imagine.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I love that so
Mhm.
much because I literally was at a retreat this like, last week, and someone came up to me like, "Hi," and I'm like, "Hi," this
Do I
person
know you?
what? So yeah, the little mini celebrity moments are funny and I think quite surprising. Corinne, Betty, what
Mhm.
like are again those audacious moves for like these moments that have surprised you in your journey, personal and professional now, again, that you have the space to choose.
Mm.
What are some of those surprises like, oh, that's a thing? Like I could do or I mean yeah, audacious moves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Krista, I really appreciated your reminder of the like what is in someone else's comfort zone may not be in ours and vice versa, right? So I think something that was like really outside my comfort zone as someone who had like 8 hours of meetings and then like would stay long after hours to do my work was actually to make a really spacious calendar. I know that sounds small, but
Mhm.
like I never had time to go to the bathroom. I never even had time to order lunch. Like it was not cute. At very, very quickly, it was not cute. But actually being able to like set up my Calendly and set up my calendar to like always have no less than 45 minutes of space between meetings because I gotta get a snack, I gotta walk around, I gotta actually digest the beautiful conversation that I just had and plan and how to be present for the next one that I'm going to have as well, and just continuing to take more and more space in my calendar. So like when I do have meetings, making sure that I'm honoring those beats between the meetings that I'm having so that I can be the full present person that I want to be when I'm talking to folks. But also sometimes just not allowing any meetings or plans or anything on
Mm.
my calendar. So you all have heard me say this, but I'll share with everyone. They're my potato days. I call them my potato days because you can be a couch potato if you want to. You can do work if you want to. But the whole idea is that you don't start your day with a checklist. You don't start your day with a plan. You're not beholden to meetings, but rather you wake up and you check in with your body and be like, what do I feel like
Mm.
doing today? And you do that hour after hour after hour. And I know for some people they're like a potato day, Betty. Like that's a whole day. What do you mean do a whole potato day? It didn't always start as a potato day. You can start off with like a potato hour and then a potato half day, and then you keep going. But now I've actually gotten to a point where it's such a practice that I have a reminder on my phone every few weeks of like, Betty, did you choose a potato day? Because I know
Mm.
that when I don't give myself that space, at least every once in a while, life starts to feel like it piles up. Because the one thing I know from my 10 years of experience as a project manager is you might not know what obstacles come your way, but something unknown and unexpected is going to come your way. So potato days also offer a little bit of a lovely buffer for you to just like take a breath and catch up, whatever it is, even if
Mm.
it's just to like wash your socks or something.
Well,
That's your thought.
I'm waiting for the book, like take your potato day or something.
Yeah.
Betty, I just wanted to point something out real quick that you said like you choose the potato day just because like as most people if you don't know then you're gonna know like you have to schedule in rest or schedule in that time. It doesn't just
Mhm.
happen. It doesn't just like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm gonna this when I have time. That you're never gonna have time.
No.
You have to
Mm-mm.
you have to
Exactly.
put it in the
Exactly.
schedule.
Yes.
Mhm.
Schedule in your potato day. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
How about you, Corinne?
Um, well, I'm feeling a lot of what you all are saying. And I think what's coming up for me is, well, I'll speak to what Betty was talking about right now about those potato days. So I thought, oh, that should be easy for me to do, like having potato moments just to rest. And I realized, like, in this entrepreneurship journey, no, like, I probably have hit the wall like maybe 3 times in the last, like, since January, like, hit a serious wall where I'm like, oh, whoa, okay, I need to have some serious rest and self-care. And the first couple of times I'm like, okay, this is new. I'm getting used to this. And this last time I remember thinking, oh man, I'm still new to this, and I'm going to be experimenting and trying this stuff out. It is not going to be perfect. Even like scheduling potato days and rest days aren't going to be perfect. And so I think for me, it's been like really really being real with myself and what my relationship is with perfectionism. Because I was even noticing myself trying to be perfect in my rest days, trying to be perfect in like my client sessions, and realizing like this perfectionism is keeping me away from being able to support people and um, and be present and just to try new things out. And also, this is also permission for others to be messy and try different things out. And it's okay if we don't get it right. And perfectionism is just, it was just stopping me a lot from trying something new, repurposing resources, phoning a friend. I actually called Crystal. I was the one that was like, I'm nervous. I'm nervous, and I've spoken before. I've done programs, I've done workshops, and it's different, like representing myself and representing something that matters to me, which is like supporting like children of immigrants and high achieving millennial women and who are going through some really tough times or who are wanting to do something different in their lives. Like it's deeply personal, so I can't hide behind like, oh, my boss told me to do this. Like, no, I'm telling myself to do this. And so I think that was for me, like being like, this whole perfectionism thing is not helping me. Like I need to just show up, be myself, be messy, and encourage people to just be themselves and live authentically. So I would say that's something that I've been most proud about in this journey, and it's going to keep happening, right? I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm so fortunate I've got support, and I think more people need to hear that it's okay to make mistakes um, and to stuff up a little bit. I think it's part of life, kind of the beauty of life, right?
Yeah.
I so appreciate you saying that. Yeah.
The perfectionism is a real thing, and yeah, giving yourself grace, and also just try, right? Just try, do the thing. We're coming up a little bit on time here, so and I have so many questions, but I have to choose. I have to limit myself for all the things I want to learn about y'all. But maybe one of the things I'm really curious about is how are you choosing to design your life now, right? Like, what is the thing that you get to do that you didn't get to do when you were working for someone else? Yeah.
Ew.
That's a meaty question. That's a good one. I think for me, it's being able to work with people I want to work with. Um, like I love each and every one of my clients. Like I legit do. I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I get to work with this person. I've closed up with a couple of clients and I'm like, oh, I'm sad. I wonder what's happening with their lives. Like, it's nice to be like to design my life in a way where I get to do something that I love and it's very meaningful to me and it's very values driven. Like I care deeply about um, supporting people and helping them recognize like the amazing qualities about themselves and being able to connect the dots with their mind, body, heart, and soul and like all that good stuff. Um, so that's something that I've been like super stoked about. I'm like, yes, I get to do that. And I get to be in the ocean more. When I was working corporate, I was working long hours too, like really long hours. And then when I wasn't, I was like, I wouldn't call myself potato. I was like I was putting on the ground. I like had to be horizontal. I was just so tired and like
Pudding
burnt
day.
out, like pudding. I had a pudding day. Now I get to eat pudding at the beach, which is great. I love that. So, being able to do something I love, work with people who I genuinely really like love and adore, and being at the beach more, being out in nature and spending quality time with my family, my friends, and my partner, like that stuff I realized like I wasn't doing. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold up. Like these are really important to me. Yeah.
That's the
So I'm
point.
happy I get to design my life like that. Yeah.
Thanks, Corinne.
For me, I'm still I feel like in the process of designing the life that I want, but I'm glad that I have that power to create it. And for me, it's really about being able to have more time with my family, my loved ones. I got married this year, and we want to start a family, and I know there's always going to be more to do, but I want to have these great foundations of my business, so that way, as I expand my family, I have control over how I'm working, when I'm working, and I can spend that time with my loved ones as I wish. Like that is kind of my ultimate like design plan, and like why I do what I do outside of like helping others is so that way I can have a life where I'm actually spending time with those that I care about, right? My parents say, at least on one side, they had to work a lot or had to do different things, and um, I want to be able to be there, for and not only be there physically, but also have the means to do things as well. Because normally it feels like it's one or the other. It's like okay, the time but not the money, or the money but not the time, and I want to be able to have both for my upcoming family, and just even my friends. And I have so many. I have found just like such an amazing community of, I call them best friends, but they're also just regular friends. And like, I want us to do things together, and I want us to be able to do trips and just do all this stuff. There's so much. I'm a big traveler, I'm a big foodie. There's so many things I want to explore and do. And so I'm grateful of especially like the type of business I have and offerings I do, to be able to travel, to be able to have that kind of flexibility of where I work and when I work, and just to be able to continue into design in whatever phase of life I am right now. I'm just really grateful for that.
Mm,
Mm.
love it all. I feel similar to Crystal. I feel like I'm in the process of designing my life, and I don't know where it's going to lead. I have like this crazy vision of changing the world to to take mini retirements, for example. Like instead of taking retirement when we're 65 or 67 or whatever that age limit is by the time we get there, for it to actually everyone take a year off every decade of their life and do something for themselves. Like that's like a big vision dream that I want to live for myself and want to provide for more people as well. And like I said, I don't, it feels like wayfinding right now. I'm not quite sure what is the exact steps to get there, but all I know is that in the practice of getting there, I am going to center my satisfaction. So every time I feel frustrated, I stop and be like, what is frustrating about this situation? Where am I putting my satisfaction on hold? And how do I move forward? So it's that self-trust and intuition that I want to practice on my own so that I can better guide others to do that as well.
Mm.
I'm gonna go on that movement of taking mini retirements. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that like that's
Yes.
you said a year off. I'm like, wow,
Every decade of
Right?
life, we earned it.
Yes.
yes.
I love that, Betty.
That is a movement. Yeah, potato year. Or I'm like from pudding to potato. Well, y'all, it's such a joy. Like I'm sitting here just looking at your faces and being like, oh, this is fun. And you're talking about being nervous to do lives, or and how like maybe Crystal, this I've been doing this for so long now. Just it's just like second nature now, right? Um, and it's just fun to do this with my friends, and I think that's as I'm sitting here thinking about what's the choices I have these days, right? It's to do this. Yes, maybe we did it a little early, and I'm like, oh man, I wake up a little later, but otherwise, like, still just be able to hang out with friends. And for me, I was very intentional. Like, I want to build my business and with my friends, like, and it's really, we closed out my last cohort, or my first cohort yesterday, had graduation of my signature group program, and it was just awesome to be like, yeah, y'all my friends now. And like, I am building a business that I get to choose not just who I work with, but like friends. Like, I remember leaving corporate and being like, I just want to do business with friends. Like, that is it. And is that possible? And now I'm looking at all of you. I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, it truly is. So anyway, just that's my like design my life kind of my big thing that I've been doing lately is realizing, oh yeah, like everyone I work with are pretty freaking awesome. So, and when I do hard things, like say maybe going on a live, it's fun. It's not. It doesn't feel like work. So, with that, we have a few more minutes to wrap up, and I would just love each of you to share um, a few things. One, maybe a tip, and two, just how what we do isn't just for ourselves. I know that all of you are doing things to support others, probably a lot of folks who look like you, right? And proving that you can design your life, that you can make bold, audacious moves, that you can be unapologetic about what you choose to do, right? And would love to hear from each of you how you help others do that in your work.
Back to the silence. Who goes? Who goes?
And also, too, if you have anything happening, please feel free to share so people can follow or can learn more about you or join you.
Yeah, I can start us off. One of the primary ways I love supporting folks is through that one-on-one space. I found that like very few of us have that dedicated space where it's not filled with advice, it's not filled with expectations, where if we get asked a question and our first response is I don't know, you get to keep going after that I don't know until you discover what you want. So I offer private coaching to support folks around that. I also am in the process of restarting and relaunching a group program I have called Conquering Criticism, which is really for folks who have criticism either from teachers, parents, or bosses that they've been carrying for months and for years. And it's just like taken out their confidence completely. Because I've been there, I've actually had to hold that space for 3 years all by myself. And it is not only lonely, it's devastating, but like we don't need to go through that. It's not a necessary part of our growth. So really creating like a group environment for us to support each other to move through that and reclaim who we are, our story, our strengths, know the barriers that we have so that we can renew the possibilities that are ahead of us. So those are two ways I'm doing that now.
Thanks, Betty.
I could go next. So the main ways I support my clients is through helping them market and style and multiply their content. Market and Style is a very luxurious, pampering service that helps you really take the things that you're already doing and create content out of it. So, if you have a speaking engagement, photo shoot, workshop, retreat, something of that nature, I support you in the style, strategy, and content for that. So, that is the big shebang. For those who are looking for something, a little bit more piece or like who already have content that they want but they need help transforming it into bite-sized pieces or to use for whether that's on social media, their digital marketing like emails and things of that nature. I have another signature service called Multiply Your Content, where I work with you to just really dig through those nuggets of gold that you have, whether that's written, audio, or video content, and help you transform into something new. Because I see so many people, they, put something out once or maybe don't put it out at all because they get so overwhelmed about like all the stuff. You go on a vacation and so you have all these photos and videos and then you're like, okay, I don't know how to organize this. And so that's what I do, is I really help, like I said, those BIPOC women in wellness. I help them create content for things that they're already doing, as well as repurpose the content that they already have, just to make it easy. I like I say, I believe content should be created with ease, and yeah, that's my goal is to help. I have 3 spots open starting next month for my market and style clients. So if you're looking for a little on that pampering side, you can head to marketin.style, or just send me a message. And then for all my other offerings, you can find them at crystal2geek.com.
Mhm.
Nice. Thanks.
Mhm. So I help high achieving millennial women and children of immigrants live more joyous, purposeful, and authentic lives through one on one life and professional coaching. So I offer 6-month programs, and it starts off with me just understanding and digging more into like what brings them to coaching and downloading all about their lives, whether it's in their personal lives or relationships with their with nature, how their home is set up, their relationship with themselves as well. I think all these factors really matter. Whether they come to me with, say, you know, they're wanting to make a change and they're wanting to quit their jobs, or they're going through a transition in their relationships. I think all of these different factors like play a pivotal role in supporting folks. And so in this 6-month journey, we create a development plan where we identify like what are some outcomes that we want to achieve by the end of our time together. What is our purpose, almost kind of like a mission statement. And I design practices, exercises, activities that fit into their days. So, for example, if someone is a rock climber and we want to dig more into the somatic side of things, I'll offer a suggestion that they bring more intention and more breathing exercise into their rock climbing. So, we want to make sure that this is sustainable, that this works within their day. So after our time together, they have all the tools that they need and it's personalized for them. So I love working with folks on a one-on-one capacity. We get to, it's a long haul together that I love doing with clients. So I am open to new clients. I'm hoping to work with 10 clients and helping them in their journey. And you can learn more about me by DMing me, or you can learn more by visiting my website, CorinneAparis.com. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to do the work with you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I'm looking at the chat, and there's some real love and conversation. And I think there's something to this mini retirement. Like, I don't know. I think we got a little bit more time, so I think quickly, because that's sparking an idea for me. Is okay. What is your mission and movement? What is the thing you were building? The bigger thing you were building.
Oof. I mean, aside from mini retirements,
That might be it. I
like
think you have
that's a
discovered that is the thing. That is actually the movement.
this is what Christina was telling me. It's like that this needs to happen like on a broader scale, and I need to adopt it for that. But I think for me, it's like I always hesitate a little to start this because like for me, it comes from a place that is so deep. So I don't, I'm still forming the words for it, but like I do really want a world where there's more space for love, for self-love, for loving of each other, for loving of differences. And I know that can feel nebulous because how each person manifests that is going to look very different. But I want us to get to a place where, how Crystal does it, how Corinne does it, how I do it, how Carissa does it, is we're all actually just laddering up and supporting each other in that process as opposed to competing with each other. I mean, and I box. I love a good, healthy competition. So it's nothing wrong with competition in and of itself, but I don't want it in a place where it takes each other out as opposed to uplifting each other. So a little nebulous. It does. I will fit this mini retirement in there. Thank you, everyone, for the vote of confidence. And that is something I will take away today.
I think you found your movement.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're all very deep thinkers and feelers. So that's probably why we're pausing. We're like, what is the mission? I don't know. So I'll take a leap. I really started this journey because I really was wanting support from people who not only look like me, but who were the first in their family to start a business, to get a professional job, to graduate college. Like there wasn't a lot of coaches I was encountering that didn't have that lived experience. And so my mission is to like create more representation in this space, in the coaching space. I come from a culture where we talk a lot about the collective. We're constantly talking about the community and uplifting each other, kind of similar to what Betty was saying. And I'm also, born and raised in America too. And so there's also like that individualism that I think is amazing as well. Like that, the endless opportunities that you get about just you, yourself, and you. But there's definitely like this third culture thing that's happening, right? That's been happening where it's fusing different cultures together. And so another part of my mission is, encouraging people to bring all parts of themselves, and that you don't have to fold into like the dominant culture. And you will get the support if it feels like you're going against the stream. You will create the support if it feels like it's counterculture. And so I think that those things are part of my mission, just more representation, encouraging people to bring all parts of themselves, to find the support, create the support. We're all in it together, and creating more like love and abundance in the world. So yeah.
I love that. I touched on it a little bit earlier, but so I talked about how like my own corporate journey led me into self-care practices, but what really got me wanting to use my services, like while my services and offerings may have changed from when I first went full-time entrepreneur in last year, my why still stays the same. As far as the first person I had a sound bath for the first time, and that just I was just like, this is incredible. And I was like, more people need to experience this, right? And that is the friend slash business owner that really got me to start using my skills for that, because I was burned out. I was tired of even though I was good at it, I was tired of using my social media marketing skills, but that just really renewed my passion for, because then I started working with people that I just really wanted to amplify. And so, again, my mission is just to really help people just find what works for them and to actually, use it and to take it. Because I know for me, like someone who's a go, go, go person, always trying to, work, always trying to put others before myself. It's like it's okay to give, but you really have to give into yourself. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like I noticed immediately the difference of me taking 10 to 15 minutes being on my yoga mat, doing a yoga exercise is like, even if it was so much going on in the day, that just really set my day up for success. And when I didn't do it, I could tell and I could feel it. And so my mission is again to just share with people the different types of practices there are, whether that's sound healing, whether that's affirmation cards, whether that's retreats, these events, social self care. There's so many options. And so, my goal again is just to amplify those people who are providing those products and services so more people can do, fill their own selves up and to be their best version of themselves. So, that's what I'm really passionate about. And how I do it, might change from here and there, but in the end, that is always the goal.
Well, thank you again, Crystal, Betty, and Corinne for joining me today. It was such a fun conversation. Again, I'm just smiling here because I get to do this. This is how I'm designing my life. Like these are the people I get to play with. Play. I think that's for me. The season I'm in is how can things be more fun and playful, not so serious. And so I'm really finding joy in these lives where I just get to hang out with people and be playful about it. So, but share also really great advice and wisdom, both in very practical advice as well as wellness advice to keep this business going, right? To stay, to keep our businesses sustainable. And with that, y'all, and thanks everybody in the audience for watching, for joining us on Wisdom and Wellness. Starting a business or taking that leap to start or taking the leap again to go all in can be a scary move. And, what we're realizing here is you don't have to do it alone, right? So if you are interested in doing that as a group, going forward with a community of BIPOC entrepreneurs, I do have the next round, the next cohort of my signature group program, Leap to Liberation, that is closing. Actually, the doors are closing tomorrow. So, what is Leap to Liberation? It is a 6-month group coaching program for BIPOC entrepreneurs, and really, what we go through is how to level up in your pricing and your product service suite, how to market your services, particularly using the power of LinkedIn, as well as how do you sell your services in a fun, human-centric way, and that I've been teaching folks can actually be really playful and have people laughing on calls when you get off of them, right? So imagine sales can be fun, y'all. So if that is something you are interested in doing and going through, again, your journey of entrepreneurship with a group of other BIPOC entrepreneurs, you can register for the program or you can give me, book some time with me so we can talk about it. You can go to my profile or DM me for more information on that. Otherwise, thank you again so much for joining us. I try to do this on a pretty regular basis so that you can meet such wonderful entrepreneurs, be inspired by them, learn from them. And hopefully you will join us the next time. And cheers to you, my dear pioneers. And let's go create our liberatory futures together. Bye-bye.
Bye.